Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2016 film The Killing Joke. Now, this is also known as Batman the Killing Joke. Really, that's what it's called, Batman the Killing Joke, but honestly, if you're just going off of the first 28 minutes, you might as well call it Batgirl the Killing Joke, which is not really what anybody paid for if they paid to see this in the theater, or what they paid to see if they paid for it on a digital download, or if what they paid to see if they paid for a copy of it on Blu-ray or DVD. This is going to be, let's just say it's going to be conflicting. Now, for one, I'm not saying, first off, I'm not saying I don't like this movie. I liked it. I didn't love Batman the Killing Joke, though, because not only because I personally felt the first 28 minutes were fucking bullshit and useless and just nothing but filler and a way for Bruce Timm to, I don't know, bring his fetishes to life. And I'll get to that soon enough, but really, I absolutely hate the first 28 minutes of this movie. What are the, why, they have no business being in the film, and it doesn't connect with the Killing Joke. It's just, oh, it's just absolutely pointless. Even if you're a fan of Batgirl, and I do like Batgirl, but even if you are a fan of that character, it doesn't do that character justice. And it definitely doesn't do Batman justice because it makes him appear to be a giant bat dick for the majority of the first 28 minutes or so, the scenes that he's in anyway. So it's a very jarring first 28 minutes. It's also very boring. It's also very tedious. And it really just makes you scratch your head and you're like, what? What does this have to do with the Killing Joke? This isn't the Killing Joke. Get to the Killing Joke. And when it does, it's good. I like it. But even when it gets to the Killing Joke, there's some problems. I think the animation it looks a bit too cheap for my taste at times, especially some of the rotoscoping or screening with some of the stuff. They decide to have CGI background elements, and in certain scenes, it's really obvious that it's a CGI background element, and it looks really bad. I'm talking like really, really obvious screening. And this is really, really glaringly brutally obvious when you see the scene where Batman is fighting some people on a carousel. The carousel is so obviously screened. It's not a part of the actual animation. It's really, really bad to watch, and it really looks terrible. And I would have to say the score really wasn't that much, which was a letdown to me, considering I thought the score in Batman: The Dark Knight Returns was epic and was a really great score. This is pretty forgettable. The direction was there. There wasn't a lot. It could have been better. I really think it could have been better. You can tell that this guy, he's directed a few movies before, but maybe he wasn't the best choice to direct The Killing Joke. The animation style is inconsistent. Not really necessarily inconsistent, but I mean the quality of it is inconsistent. At times it looks really cheap and really bland. And I don't know why they didn't actually copy the style that made the Killing Joke graphic novel so unique and made it stand out so much. And when the animation does copy that style, it looks great, and it's some of the most stunning animation in the entire movie. But when it doesn't do that, it just looks stock. It looks like any of the other direct-to-video Batman movies that have come out through DC animated, through the DC animated film production company, through Warner Brothers and DC. It's just really, just very blasé and just dull. Um, and the tone is it's not consistent. There's times where it feels dark, but then it's not as dark as it could be. It's not. When I read the graphic novel for the first time, The Killing Joke, it sent chills down my spine. It terrified me. You don't get that feeling with this because the animation is stock, and it doesn't take too many chances. And then there are times where it censors itself with its dialogue. And I don't even know why this is rated R. This is just for a little bit of blood and some intense imagery and some intense subject matter. It makes sense. The MPA is notorious for that kind of shit. If you have a neck crack is too loud, you get an R rating. Better not mention drugs, or better not mention sex, or any of this other stuff, or show too much blood. Rated R. But you can change the blood to like the color green, and there's no problem. But you know, if it's red, R. The MPA is stupid, and I can go on and on about that in a whole nother video. But really, for an R rating, for the first ever R-rated animated movie from DC, this is pretty disappointing. It barely even used the R rating. It didn't use it to its fullest. Um, but that being said, I still like the movie. I think it's an above average movie. I just don't think it's great, and I definitely did not love The Killing Joke. I wanted to, but the first 28 minutes of bullshit starring Batgirl, uh, I just was not a fan of. So anyway, The Killing Joke, it's directed by Sam Liu. I think they could have chosen a better guy. Maybe the guy who directed The Dark Knight Returns. I think they honestly could have chosen a better director for this. Um, it's produced by Bruce Timm, who's probably the only reason why we have the bullshit first 28 minutes of a 76-minute long movie. And I was always wondered how The Killing Joke was going to fit as a feature-length film because there isn't really enough there for a feature-length movie. So I was thinking, are they just going to do an adaptation that's of like 30 minutes? Or just an 60 minutes long? I wish they did. And didn't add this 28 minutes of bullshit in the front of it. But, you know, they could have just, I read up some things, some people had some ideas on IMDb that I liked, where they could have just adapted The Man Who Laughs. They could have combined The Man Who Laughs story with The Killing Joke into one feature-length movie. And you could have two excellent Joker stories that are adapted into one film. And in The Man Who Laughs, storyline would tie into Barbara Gordon a lot better than this stuff did, because apparently just wanted to make everything cliched. Oh, we got to give Batman a motivation to care about what happens to Barbara or whatever or something because they had a fling. What? That's totally against the character of Bruce Wayne and Batman. Batman would never bone anyone that he's trained or that anyone he's a mentor to. That's just completely uncalled for and completely against character. Completely against Barbara Gordon's character as well. So anyway, yeah. So it stars Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, who come back and lend their excellent voice talents to this movie, and they're phenomenal. They're great, as always. It's really it's a real treat to see them work together again in an adaptation of The Killing Joke. I gotta admit, you know, that was a dream come true for me to see Conroy and Hamill, you know, from Batman the Animated Series to work off each other again in an adaptation of The Killing Joke. That was great. They did great, especially Mark Hamill. Especially in the scenes where in the flashback scenes, which I thought were the most fascinating and interesting scenes in the movie, were the flashback scenes dealing with the Joker before he became the Joker, where he realized that he had a family, where he was trying to have a family, he had a wife, and she was pregnant, and he was struggling to make ends meet, and he was trying to make people laugh, but it wasn't paying the bills, and then he gets involved with this whole sort of thing with these you know, unscrupulous sort of mafia type guys, and because he's trying to get money so he can, you know, afford a new place to live for his wife and his kid, and then you have the tragedy, the realization that his wife died, and then that's where he becomes the Red Hood, technically one of the Red Hoods, and that's where he ultimately becomes the Joker because he gets poisoned with, you know, the chemicals at the chemical factory and bleaches his skin white and his hair green, and he's got the permanent smile, and he just loses his mind. And it's actually a really tragic story, and actually humanizes the Joker in a way that you really haven't seen before, but in a way that doesn't really, a way that makes sense, and in a way that doesn't seem condescending or ridiculous. And Mark Hamill's voice acting in these particular sequences is top notch. It is spectacular. It is really, really good. So, you know, yeah, there's some really good things about this movie. This isn't really a rant fully because once it gets to The Killing Joke and stops bat dicking around, then it actually is a really good film and a good watch and a fairly solid adaptation of The Killing Joke. Uh, You also have Ray Wise, who does good work as the voice of James Gordon. Tara Strong that comes back, and she's done voiceover work for Batgirl, I believe before. Um, and she comes in as Barbara Gordon, and yeah, she's well known for her animation work and voiceover work and a lot of things. Um, Seems like she didn't do Batgirl in the animated series, it seems like, because I'm looking up her lists and she didn't do it in Batman TAS, but she's done Batgirl in uh, other shows. So, yeah, and Robert Atkin Downes, who you've heard his voice in a lot of other movies, animated and otherwise. He plays the voice of Bullock, Detective Bullock here. Uh, yeah, mainly it's Conroy and Hamill's show. It's mainly their show. So let's get into some more in-depth sort of things here. The basic gist of the plot. I'm just going to go on a little bit of a mini rant on the first 28 minutes or so. It focuses on Batgirl. She's on patrol. She fails to stop a robbery from this guy named Paris Franz, which just reminded me of Hans and Franz from SNL. I half expected the guy to stop Batgirl and go, "I'm going to pump you up." That's not really what happens, but I expected that. The villain was weak. Very weak villain. Forgettable villain. Just some pretty boy guy who, what? And so she fails to stop the robbery, but she stops one of one of these fleeing criminals with the help from Batman. Unknown to her, the robbers' leader is the Paris Franz guy, who develops some dangerous obsession with her that really doesn't work. She starts receiving messages from Franz, and all the while, of course, while she's receiving relationship advice from her gay friend. For some reason, that has to be put in this movie. Comic relief. More like a stereotype, which is just really jarring, and I don't know why it's here. I mean, it's not funny. It's cringe-inducing, and it's annoying. Why is this here? Why am I watching this? Get to the killing joke before I fucking kill you. Movie, really? Just infuriated me. This first 28 minutes, it just pissed me off so much. So she develops this the Franz has this obsession with her. She's receiving relationship advice from her gay friend. Batman shares his concerns that she's not taking the situation seriously, and even spouts SJW type dialogue, like he's objectifying you. We're like, oh my god, well, Batman wouldn't talk like that. So Franz tricks her into finding his uncle's dead body. Batman becomes more concerned about her safety. With the whole stuff where it's all like he's using you and so on, and he's objectifying you because you're a woman. Get it? And he takes her off the case. This pisses off Batgirl, and she starts attacking him verbally and physically. And then Batman stops her, and she kisses him, and then they have sex on the rooftop. You don't see it, which I was surprised. This is rated R. There's no animated tits. There's no boobies. There's no animated nudity. So I heard about this Batgirl sex scene, and I heard it was so offensive, and so I thought it was going to be like full-on nudity. No. Nope, no cartoon nudity here. But it is still kind of offensive because it's completely against her character, against Batman's character, and it's completely out of left field. It's like Batman just showed up, whipped his dick out, and smacked you in the face with it. It's that shocking. You're like, what? Why? What is this doing here? This adds nothing to the story. So, yeah, Batman tries to apologize to Batman, but he gets ambushed by Franz, who I guess is able to blow up the Batmobile with your average bazooka. This is a Batmobile that in other comics can get shot by all kinds of bullets. It even got shot with a bazooka, I think, in some other comics I've seen, and it hasn't blown it up. But apparently that's what happens here. And so Batgirl goes in and helps Batman. There's not much of a fight scene. Any of the action in this first 28 minutes is forgettable too. It's shot very statically. It's just there's not much to it. It's forgettable, completely forgettable. There's a little bit of fisticuffs and maybe some explosions and some shooting. It's really about it. And then you have a jarring thing where this one guy, he goes in and he says, freaking A in the beginning. I'm like, this is rated R. Shouldn't he be saying fucking A? I mean, fucking A. I mean, you're rated R. You can literally say all the fucks you want to, and it doesn't. And that really makes it feel tame. Language can definitely add to a film in terms of its intensity. And this is rated R, and you got a guy saying freaking A, that's just distracting. And then the only time you hear one swear word is like when a guy says shit. This is rated R. Why? Why is this rated R? Questionable material and some blood. It's pretty much about it. Intensity. It's some intense imagery. So anyway, Batgirl arrives, beats the shit out of Franz. Should have beat the shit out of Hans as well. But she relents before she kills him. She realizes Batman is alright. He's fine. And she realizes that he was right about her not being able to deal with this. And so she retires from crime fighting. Yeah. She retires from crime fighting because Batman pretty much guilt tripped her or I don't know what the fuck happened. I'm just sitting there, my jaw dropped open, being like, what the hell was that? And then finally, we get into the Killing Joke, where Batman investigates a murder scene with Bullock, concludes that the Joker might be behind it, and he goes to Arkham, realizes that there's this other guy who's there who's taken his place, so the Joker has escaped. He learns that Joker attacked Barbara, which is still a really shocking scene where the Joker shows up and shoots Barbara and paralyzes her in front of her father, and then kidnaps her father, Commissioner Gordon, takes Gordon to an abandoned amusement park where he strips the commissioner naked, subjects him to all kinds of torture. And then you have this weird sort of stuff where you have these people who show up, I guess they're carnies. These people who show up, they look like the babies from It's Alive or something. I don't understand why. So now these carnies, I guess, are under the employ of the Joker, and so they torture him, and it's okay. So then flashbacks are used, which are the most interesting part of the film, where it shows the backstory of the Joker and his origins. Um, then it keeps flashing back and forth from the past to the present. Then you have the whole thing where eventually Batman is able to find out where the Joker is, because the Joker literally gives him an invitation for it. And the Joker's whole plan was to drive Gordon mad, to show him that anyone can be like him. It just takes one bad day. And well, what eventually happens is the Joker sends his carnies after Batman, and really not much of action, little bits of fights. If you're going into this for action and fun action and animated action, you're not going to get it here. You're going to be disappointed. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns is still probably the best one film I can think of when it comes to your bat action, when it comes to an animated movie. And so despite all of this torturing, even Gordon hearing the Joker have a musical number, which I think was like "I'm Loony." It's actually a really great performance by Mark Hamill. He really sold it. You could tell he was having a blast, and I really liked that scene. And that's one of the scenes in the film that has some of the more striking animation in it as well. But eventually, you realize that Gordon was able to stay sane regardless of all this shit that the Joker was trying to do to him, and he demands Batman to capture him by the book. Batman follows the Joker through the funhouse. Um, Joker tries to convince Batman that the world is just one big joke and it's not worth fighting for. And that's where he says the one bad day is enough to drive an ordinary man insane. But he even says, what he even asks Batman, you know this, right? You had one bad day. So he guesses that it's one bad day that drove Batman into becoming a vigilante, which he's correct. Of course, the day where when his parents are murdered. Batman eventually subdues the Joker, tells him that Gordon remains sane despite everything he suffered, and concludes that the Joker is alone in his madness. He attempts to reach out to the Joker, which is what Batman would do, what Bruce would do, which seems rather jarring considering that Bruce was being a total bat dick in the first 28 minutes, and now he's trying to rehabilitate the Joker. But of course, the Joker declines, even though Batman's saying, there's only one way this is going to end. It's going to result in our deaths. But the Joker says, it's too late for you to help me. And then he tells Batman this joke that that the situation reminds him of. And he tells it, and Batman starts laughing at the punchline, accompanying the Joker's maniacal laughter as the screen cuts to black. Then there's a mid-credit scene which has Barbara in a wheelchair entering a secret room in her apartment. She turns on the computers. Oracle's logo appears on the screen, so she's now officially Oracle. And I know people have kind of made interpretations that Batman killed the Joker. That's not what happened. There's no, that's not what happened. Even Bruce Timm himself was saying, no, that's not what happened. He didn't kill the Joker. And there's this other controversy about the film that it suggested that the Joker raped Barbara Gordon. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I think it is. I mean, you have the stuff with the prostitute saying he found another girl. And then you have the stuff where Bullock himself says, oh, yeah, her clothes were missing. She was naked. And so it's kind of insinuated she was raped anyway. And then the whole thing with the images that the Joker was showing Commissioner Gordon in the funhouse, in the the sort of what is it, something, the kind of thing where you go into the haunted house ride and you see all this kind of stuff, funhouse mirrors and stuff. He set up all these television monitors, and he's showing footage of Barbara Gordon laying there on the ground, with the shot in her stomach, in her chest, in her lower stomach that severed her spinal cord. And it seems like the Joker is insinuating that she might have been raped as well. I mean, it would make sense. I'm not saying, I mean, to act for people to act like that's above the Joker, or like really, like the Joker would not do that, or like that's below the Joker. Oh, the Joker wouldn't rape her. It's the Joker we're talking about. He's fucking crazy. I could totally see him raping Barbara Gordon, and then using that kind of using that knowledge to try to drive her father crazy. I could totally see that. He's fucked in the head. I can totally see him fucking Barbara Gordon while she's paralyzed. I totally could see it. And I don't say, yeah, it's offensive, but this is the Joker we're talking about. We're not talking about something that Batman did. It's not something that any sane person did. And it's a bad guy. I can totally see. I don't understand the controversy surrounding this. I understand the controversy surrounding Batman or Batgirl boning each other. I definitely understand that because it's totally against their characters, and it just doesn't serve any purpose other than to give Bruce Timm and something for him to, get wet to. I mean, literally to just cream his pants over. But I'm just saying that doesn't serve any purpose other than for that. But the whole thing with the Joker possibly raping her, I wouldn't be surprised if that actually was the case. And The Killing Joke is a pretty fucked up graphic novel and a pretty dark comic, so I wouldn't put it past the comic for that to actually have been the case. But that's just how I interpret it. Yeah, raping, rape is horrible, but it's a Joker we're talking about. He's one of the craziest people in Batman's rogues gallery, and he manipulated Harley Quinn into becoming who she is. So I would not put it past him to do that kind of thing. I really wouldn't. He's a sociopath. He's a psycho with psychopathic tendencies. He doesn't give a shit about people's morals. But anyway, I don't know what to say about the movie, except I liked it, but I didn't love it because of the filler, bullshit 28 minutes with just the adventures of Batgirl that I did not want to see. I did not want to see Batman boning Batgirl. I don't even want to think about Batman's dick. I really don't. I don't want to think about Batman's dick penetrating Barbara's pussy. I don't really want to think about that, and there's a reason why, because that's not something that should ever happen. Should have never happened. I know it's insinuated that that's what happened in Batman Beyond, and I'm not really a fan of that either. And I really like Batman Beyond, but I'm not really a fan of that kind of storyline that might have happened in that show. And she's like not paralyzed in that either, so I guess she must have had like futuristic technology that enabled her to not be paralyzed anymore, apparently. But that's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother video because I do want to talk about Batman Beyond sometime. But yeah, just the first 28 minutes sucked. It's fine if you like it or if anyone else does. I did not like the first 28 minutes, and those are one of the main reasons why it's just an above average film to me. Because I can't stand the first 28 minutes. And yeah, I could skip it and could cut it out, but they're a part of the movie. That's the movie that they presented. That's the movie that they edited and they released. And I would rather criticize and, rate the film on the movie that they released instead of the movie that, that they didn't release. They didn't release the film without that 28 minutes of filler of bullshit. And then, the animation could be better. I saw a fan animated trailer for this where he took the style from the graphic novel and took the trailer footage and adapted the style from the graphic novel into the trailer footage, and it looked phenomenal. I'll put a link down below. It's a great video. And so I don't buy this fact that, oh, we couldn't do it. Some fan did it for practically nothing, probably. I don't buy that you could not do it. They adapted the comic style for The Dark Knight Returns. They adapted Frank Miller's style for that. I don't know why they didn't adapt the style for this. I don't know why. And I wish they did, because when they did do it, which wasn't very often, the film looked its best and had its best looking animation. Other times it just looked kind of dime store and really just dull and flat and boring. And it tried to add something to it with really bad CGI backgrounds, or even a completely CGI generated light for some reason that was like a flashlight one of the characters was using. I don't know why it was there. It doesn't add anything to the movie. It's just distracting. You could just say, "Oh, look, CGI flashlights over here." It's just why. There's a lot of stuff. I'm shaking my head. There's a lot of stuff that happens in The Killing Joke, which I'm like, why? Why did you do this? Why? Why did we, And it did not use its R rating to its fullest, and that was disappointing as well. But other than those things, and I've mentioned myself, I'm repeating myself a little bit here. I apologize. This is the roundup here. I'm just summing up my main points here and things like that at the end of the video. But anyway, yeah, I liked the film. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I'll pick it up on DVD or Blu-ray someday down the road. But I would not say it's the best Batman movie to date. I know some critics have said that. I respectfully disagree. And I don't even think it's the best animated DC Batman movie I've seen. I would still give that honor to The Dark Knight Returns. But I still liked it, and if I was going to rate it out of 5 stars, I would give it 3.5 out of 5. I guess an above average movie. The first half really, really hurts the film for me. And the fact that it does not live up to its R rating, it has an inconsistent tone, and it doesn't really have this. It's not as gripping, or it still packs a punch, but it's not as powerful as a graphic novel was. And that's a missed opportunity as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Batman the Killing Joke, and as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.